There are two main characters in Of Mice and Men, written by John Steinbeck. One's name is George. He is described as being of smaller frame and having petite and defined features. He is also the boss and voice of the pair. George took Lenny under his wing to protect him. This makes George take a big brother role. Even though he may yell, George loves Lenny more than everyone else in the entire world. The other one over there is named Lenny. He is of great build and muscle, great for a farmhand. However, his nature is incredibly soft and childlike, as well as loving. They both have a life goal that they want to achieve, which is a rabbit farm of all their own, rather than working on another person's farm. George uses the farm to motivate Lenny, even though he knows that the dream is unrealistic.
Throughout the book, Steinbeck shows different types of discrimination. He showcases how society treats those who are different. Racism is explored by the character of Crooks. The character of Curly's wife shows sexism in action. And the last is discrimination against the mentally challenged, which is showcased through the character of Lenny. Steinbeck uses these characters' roles and interactions between each other to not only show different types of discrimination, but how these characters are affected by it.
Curly's wife is a static character. Though she plays a minor role in the novel, Steinbeck uses her to portray one of the many types of discrimination in the novel, sexism. She's the only woman in the novel and is defined by her role as Curly's wife. George and Candy call her by other names, such as Jailbait or Tart. She wears too much makeup and dresses like a whore, with red fingernails and red shoes and ostrich feathers. Lenny is fascinated by her. He keeps repeating, "She is pretty." George, realizing Lenny's fascination, warns him to stay away from her. Curly's wife knows her beauty is her power, using it to flirt with the ranch hands, making her husband jealous. Steinbeck's initial portrayal of Curly's wife shows her to be a mean and seductive temptress. While she is alive, she is connected to Eve in the Garden of Eden. She brings evil into men's lives by tempting them in ways they cannot resist. Eventually, she brings about the end of the dream of Eden, the little farm where George and Lenny can live off the land. When she says, "Anne, what am I doing? Standing here talking to a bunch of biddle stiffs, a nigger ain't a dum-dum, a Lucy all sheep, and liking it because they ain't nobody else." Curly's wife says this when she walks into Crooks' room, where Crooks, Lenny, and Candy are. Nigger refers to Crooks, Dum-Dum refers to Lenny, and lousy old sheep refers to Candy. This shows the effect of discrimination on Curly's wife. Through this character, Steinbeck strives to illustrate the role of women in the world today. He illustrates how women are discriminated against and looked at as merely sexual objects and possessions of men.
In John Steinbeck's novel, Crooks is used to represent the discrimination of racism. In the novel, Crooks is described as being broken and an aloft man. Crooks is a black farmhand in the 1950s era. He is told not to come into the bunkhouse, so he sleeps with the animals in the stables. Can be seen in this quote. Lenny gulped and smiled. "I ain't doing nothing," he said. "Just come and look at my puppy, and I seen your light," he explained. "Well, I got a right to have a light. You go on and get out of my room. I ain't wanting it in the bunkhouse, and you ain't wanting it in this room." "Why ain't you wanted?" Lenny asked. "'Cause I'm black. They play cards in there, but I can't play because I'm black. They say I stink. Well, I tell you, all of you stink to me." Steinbeck uses symbolism through Lenny as being innocent to the situation to show how damaged and unwelcoming Crooks is, and had become that way because of discrimination against him. The terms "got right" is also repeated because Crooks is protecting and making known the few rights that he does have as a person. This was still in the time frame that the United States was still in segregation. Crooks is against the outside world because for so long it has been aggressively against him. Discrimination has not only excluded him in physical ways but also emotionally. Because Crooks is a black man, he has been excluded since birth, and this has made him build harsh walls towards anyone who attempts to come near. He claims that he needs to be loved, like anyone needs to be loved. Steinbeck inevitably conveys that racism is destructive mentally and physically for both sides involved.
Lenny's shapeless even though he's a giant, and it's clear that he's got a mental disability. He's deeply devoted to George and dependent upon him for protection and guidance. His innocence proved that he's good and looks at things at a very different perspective. I'm gonna get him. I'm going for my shotgun. I'll kill the big son of a bitch myself. In this quote, Steinbeck shows how Lenny is seen as the bad guy. But in reality, it's really everyone else that pushes and knocks Lenny around. The characters in the book don't understand that he loves to pet soft and pretty animals as well as people who he really loves with the amount of strength he has, with a mouse or Curly's wife. As he pets them too hard, they end up dying. Lenny falls to follow the social norms instilled in the society due to his mental disability. Steinbeck uses the farm in his novel to represent society and how it behaves towards the outcast, including Lenny.
Through Of Mice and Men, the author questions what normal is, and if we can define it or understand it. The farm is to represent society as a whole and showcase its many dysfunctions and obvious struggles with the idea of normal and acceptance.